So we have this 6 number of bolted connection. First one is unfinished bolt, and which is also called as black bolt or C grade bolt, which covers under IS 1363. Second one is turned bolt, and precision and semi-precision bolt. The last two are ribbed bolt and high strength bolt. So these 6 types of bolt will be discussed in this chapter, and in your syllabus they have particularly asked about high strength friction grip bolt. These 2 types are being discussed in your syllabus. So rest of the things are all for better understanding. So this does not include in your syllabus. All the bolts will be having the class. The class of bolt will be there, which will be 4.6, 4.8, 5.6 and 5.8. Like that it will be going on to 11.6 and 11.8 types of bolts are available. The property class, which is 4.6, if they are saying like that, what it indicates is 4 indicates 1/100th of nominal ultimate tensile strength. If they are saying 4.6, then 4 indicates its ultimate tensile strength. So what do you mean by that is, you are having 400 Newton per mm square of strength, and what is 0.6 is 400 into 0.6, 240. Yes. So the ultimate tensile stress of 4.6 bolt is 4 indicates 400 Newton per mm square, and 0.6 indicates 400 into 0.6, which will be 240 Newton per mm square. By the grade itself, you identify what is its ultimate strength and what is its yield strength. So both the things you can identify by giving the grade of the bolt. So this is why they give grade for each and every bolt, and you can use as a designer and as well as a site engineer. Designer might give in the specification, the bolt whatever you are using should be 8.8 class bolt. But if a site engineer is purchasing, how he can confirm? While purchasing, there will be the embodiment in the head of the, see, this is the head of the bolt, and in that you have 8.8. So whenever a purchase engineer or quantity engineer, if he is purchasing, he will confirm that whatever he is getting is 8.8. So likewise, for all the material in civil engineering has some grades, so which will be useful for construction. Regarding the type of the bolt, the square head cost less and the hexagonal head get better appearance. See, you can see here, this is a hexagonal shape. You can make this bolt in the square shape also, but for turning and for application purpose it will be very much useful when you use hexagonal shape. If you are providing a square shape, what will happen? You will be getting less area to turn. If you are having hexagonal shape, you have multiple ports to turn that, and easily space will be available for working. They are produced in metric size ranging from 5 to 36 mm. Their size of the bolt which is available in this sizes. So it will be indicated as M5 to M36. What do you mean by M5 is the diameter of the bolt is 5 mm. What do you mean by M36 is the diameter of the bolt is much wider. Before going into the bolt and design of bolt, you should know what are the technical component of the bolt. You can see that this is a small component which you can see in day to day, but you have this much of terminology in the bolt. So this differentiates the type of bolt. You will be normally having a head portion, and as per the code book, the 1364 gives the dimension of the black bolt, which are unfinished bolt. For each and every grade of bolt you have a code book, and they should follow this grades. So if your bolt is M16, what do you mean by M16? The diameter of the bolt is 16 mm. the head diagonal will be 26.17. So nearly 26 you will be getting, and you have the ratio. If your diameter of the bolt is 16 mm, the head will be having a particular range. It will be around 1.65. So if you multiply 1.65 into 16, what you are getting? 26 you will be getting as the answer. If you are making it into round off, it will be in 1.65 times. Whatever bolt you can take for black bolt, what is the diameter, and with the diameter you can fix the head. Okay. Then head thickness. What do you mean by head thickness is this is the thickness. So thickness will be around the range of 0.65 D. What is D? D is diameter. So what is 0.65 into 16? So around 10 you will be getting. Yes, like that for all the size of the bolt, the head diagonal thread length. What do you mean by thread length is, see this is shank and this portion is thread. All the bolt will be having this two portion. For some bolt you will be having much higher thread and lesser shank, and for some type of bolt you will be having higher shank only 2 or 3 number of threads. And what do you mean by pitch of thread? See, you have the windings here, no? You have the rolls. How many rolls are here? This is known as the pitch. So, you can find the number of height. If how many rolls are here, that much of turning you have to make. If 10 number of this kind of rolling is available, it is technically known as pitch. If 10 number of pitch is available, you have to tighten the bolt 10 times, it will reach the particular destination. So their pitch is well defined. For 16 mm bolt, your pitch will be 2 mm. What do you mean by that is, if you are fixing the bolt here, if you turn once for a 360 degree, it will move how many mm? 2 mm. If you turn twice, it will move 4 mm. So like that accurately you can identify the rotation and the height. So for how much height in precise the instrument, you need to give this much of force to the bolt, like that it is there. So if you want to give this much of force, how many turning you should give, everything is automatic. Then you can manufacture that. See, where it will be useful is if they are manufacturing a car. See, car parts are majorly assembled by the machine. All the parts will be there, their parts will be kept at the particular place and it will be bolted or nutted by using the machines only. If the machines keep on applying the torque, what will happen? The member will break, yes or no? They will predefinedly give the amount of force, amount of torque, how much to give, all depends on the code book like this. So for even a nut and bolt, you have the pitch distance. If you are using 30 mm dia bolt, what will be the pitch distance? 3.6. If you turn once, it will move 3.5 mm up. All the work which are doing is just quantified. So you can make it into robot. In our college, we have robotics and automation. Yes or no? How they will be applying this is, even civil engineers can apply robotics and automation. Now in future, your kids or your grandkids will be, if they are a civil engineer, they will be only dealing with automations only. If you want to make a house, currently they are bringing JCB and cranes for installing the component. In future, in 50 years, only printers will be available. No workers will be there. Nobody will work as a worker. There will be no mason, no female worker, and no mazdoor, no carpenter. Nobody will be there. Only a 3D printer will be there. The printer will come there. Only you have to give all the ingredients. What are they? Cement, sand, aggregate, whatever is there, you have to put in that. Directly it will print your building. Whatever you require in the paper, the same will come in 3 dimensions. This is a technology which has been evolved in certain universities. But now it has to reach all the private engineering colleges. If any technology is there, first it will reach the R&D of a country. If we are having DRDO, it will reach there. or it will reach any nationalized laboratories. Then it will reach to universities. After that to engineering colleges. Finally, it will go to public. So this is the way of process of any technology in a country, not only in India, anywhere. The technology reached all the major universities that are centrally funded universities. It has to reach the people. How it will reach? It has to transform through yourself. Everybody has to know that, and everybody has to transform. So like that, the students will be asking, sir, what project should I do? What should I do? See, these are the future of a construction. How to make a construction without any manual workforce. Only automatic, purely automatic. Can you do that? Yes, technology is available. You can plan that without no human, you have to construct. You can become an entrepreneur. How to do that? Simply you cannot do. By watching a movie in 2 or 3 hours, the things will do. The hero will do everything. And hero will become from, he will be standing in a hut, and after the movie he will be there in a bungalow. In 2.5 hours. Only in movies it will happen. But in reality, there are many strugglings will be there. The thing is, understanding is the base of everything. Okay. Now, when you are taking the bolt into consideration, the nut is also there. Nut also has the dimensions. So, if your bolt has 0.65 times the dia, the nut will be having 0.8 times the dia. Note that whenever you see nut and bolt, nut thickness will be higher. The bolt, if you compare the bolt head and the nut thickness will be much higher. So, these are the minor things which you have to know. And this is the tensile properties for fasteners. Fasteners are connectors. It either might be bolt, fasteners might be rivet, or they might be pinned. So these are the types of, instead of the name connectors, you can use the term fasteners, are used in steel structure. If the grade is given there 4.6, you know that 4 is meant by 4 into 100 is, the ultimate strength is 400, and 400 into 0.6 will be 240. If you are using 4.8 grade, like that. So you can move on up to 10.9 grade. What do you mean by 10.9 is 10 into 100 will be around 1000 Newton per mm square will be its ultimate tensile. 1000 into 0.9 will be around 900. So this will be the grade, and the code gives the guideline for this. Next, high strength bolt. They are generally made of medium carbon steel, and there will be a class of 8.8 to 10.9. So the bolt property will be more than 8.8, are commonly used in the steel construction to confirm IS 3757. So what is the code book used for unfinished bolt? 1364. And what is the code book for high strength bolt? 3757. Generally, the bolt size of M16, 20, 24 and 30 are commonly used in practice. That is, high strength bolt of these dimensions are used. And in the head, it is embroidered as what? 8S, 8.8S, 10S, like that. So, what do you mean by 8, 8.8? You already know that. If they are giving the grade in the head of the bolt, you need to identify and recognize that, which will be embossed on the head of this bolt. Another thing is the percentage of elongation is 12% at the failure. So this is one of the important point when high strength bolt are considered. You can refer here that, see, one thing you have to note here. See, in this normal bolt, what is the maximum elongation? It is given here. For 4.6 grade, what is the elongation? 22% it is elongating. What do you mean by that? If you are having 100 mm, how much it will elongate? 22 mm it will elongate. Okay, if you are using 10.9 grade, how much it will elongate? Only 9%. So this is what the difference. If you are using higher grade of bolt, their elongation will be much lesser. Okay, do you need your bolt to elongate much higher or you don't need to elongate? Always the bolt should not elongate. Why? Because if the bolt is elongated, what will happen? The collection will become loose. The bolt always should not elongate much higher. So that is why high strength bolt are lesser than 12% of elongation at failure. During the failure also it elongates 12% only. This is the advantage. And in the previous class I have mentioned that if you want your bolt to fail by brittle or by ductile, your bolt should only fail by brittle. Sudden failure should come. It should not elongate. If it is elongating, if it is ductile, then the property or purpose of the bolt will not fulfill. In your syllabus, they have asked two types of bolted connection. One is lap joint and another one is butt joint. These two joints they have asked, and high strength friction grip bolt are being asked. These are the two types which are very much commonly used in this industry. Now, see, your high strength friction grip bolt will be like this. You have earlier saw the normal bolt. Now you find the difference between the high strength bolt. You will be having two washers, both at top and the bottom, and you will be having the nut. You have to provide your material only in between this two washer only. It will fix the component, and you will be screwing that, and it will provide friction between the components. Whatever the plate you are providing, it provides friction also. It adheres with that, and you will be getting much higher advantage. So you got 29.56 as the, so the head diagonal is 29.56, and these are the guidelines which is given by the code book. Note here what are the addition given here in this type of bolt is washer. What will be the thickness of the washer? Majorly for 16, 20, 24 you are having 4 mm thick of washer, and for only M30 grade you have 5 mm thick of washer. And always the diameter of washer is higher than the head of the diagonal. So if your head is 29 mm, your washer is how much? 30. So if you compare the head and the washer, it will be much higher. Okay. Now these are the advantages of high strength friction grip bolt. The major thing is they will not allow any slippage between the elements. So due to this washer and the nut, this will not allow the member to get slip. So it will tighten their components, and especially in close tolerance holes. And load is transmitted by friction only. Why they called high strength friction grip bolt? In the sense they transfer the load by friction only. This is another advantage. And the bolts are not subjected to shear and bending. Eventually, if you are using that, the gusset plate size will be reduced. Due to the smaller number of dia of bolt, you can reduce the dia of bolt, and you can reduce the gusset plate size. If you reduce gusset plate size, your economy will increase, yes or no? If you are using larger number of plates and much smaller number, if you compare that, you will be getting much higher economically. And noiseless fabrication will be there, and whenever you are tightening and operating, there will be less noise. No heating, no danger of tossing of bolt. Whenever you are using a rivet, you need to heat the rivet and then you have to install. But in terms of bolt, no heat is required. They do not rely on resistance from bearing. Generally, any bolt, if you are using, there will be two types of force. One is shear force and second one is bearing force. In terms of friction grip bolt, there is no relay of resistance due to bearing. This is the advantage of using that. Can be provided for ease erection and to take care of lack of fit. So there will be no fitting problem. It will be exactly fit, and you can use the HFSD bolt for vibration operation also. If any equipment, if you are making, if that equipment is having much vibration, say for example, if they can make any mixie jar, if you are making the mixie jar, your components top and bottom has to be connected. There they will be using bolt. If you are using HFSG bolt there will be no vibrations at the junction. You can take an example of grinder. You can see that there will be washer. Only in certain components they will be having top and bottom washer, or in certain elements they will be only tightening with nut and bolt. That is the difference. If your components are having much higher vibration, you can use HYSG bolt. The nuts are prevented from loosening and fatigue strength is much higher than the weld or rivet. Okay. The material cost is 50% higher than black bolt. So this is the disadvantage. The thing is, bolt is available for 2 rupees. For normal bolt, you have to purchase this for 3 rupees. This is 50% higher than the black bolt, and load is transferred by friction only, no stress concentration in the holes. This is very important, and you can replace, and it can be done easily with the workers. No skilled worker is required. Now let us discuss about the minimum and maximum spacing about the bolt holes. So you take it down chapter 10, the second page of this chapter. You turn the second page of this chapter. There you have minimum spacing. The fastener shall not be less than 2.5 times the nominal diameter. So what do you mean by that is, if you are connecting two plates, this is plate 1 and this is plate 2. You are connecting these two plates, and what they are highlighting is, so if you are using any fastener, it should not be having lesser than 2.5 times the dia. This is the first case. What is the maximum spacing is 32 T. What do you mean by T is thickness of the thinner plate. What do you mean by that? If you are connecting 10 mm plate and another plate is 5 mm plate, so which is thinner? 5 mm plate. So you have to take 5 mm into consideration here. You should not take the higher thickness. This is the or 300 mm, whichever is lesser. If you want to provide any bolt, one and the another, what is the maximum distance they are saying? One bolt and another bolt should not have 32 times the thickness, that is, or maximum 300 mm, 1 feet. When you are using in tension, first point is 2.5 times dia, second point is when you are using in tension members, it should not go beyond 16 times T or 200 mm. If you are using tension member, if you want to connect that, your T should be 16 times T, that is pitch should be 16 times T or 200 mm. So this is the pitch. And if you are using in compression member, it should be 12 T or 200 mm, whichever is lesser. In case of butt joint, what do you mean by butt joint is, see, this is lap joint. If you want to connect two members, overlapping, it is overlapping. So it is called lap joint. If you connect two plates like this is known as butt joint. You will be connecting this, you will be providing additional plate below that, and by that plate you will be connecting. Can you find the difference here? This is the two plate where they have to connect. They are providing additional two plates, they will bolt here. This is known as what type of connection? Butt joint connection. If you don't have any special member, only two members are there, you are lapping that. What do you mean by that? Lap joint. So these two types are being asked in your syllabus. And if you are using lap joint, you have one condition. If you are using butt joint, the pitch distance to be restricted to 4.5 times D, that is 1.5 times the width of the plate. So if you are having a plate, so this is the plate which is provided, and this should be 1.5 times the breadth. What is B? This is known as the B. and this is the maximum pitch condition. What do you mean by pitch is, I will explain in the next slide. See, if you are connecting two plates, this is plate 1 and plate 2, you are connecting it by a butt joint. If the load is applied in horizontal direction, pitch is known as what? The distance between two bolts in the horizontal direction. This is known as P. So can you find the letter P? This is known as pitch. If load is acting along the direction of the load, the distance between the bolt are known as what? Pitch. What do you mean by G is known as gauge? G stands for gauge. What do you mean by gauge is, the perpendicular to the pitch is known as what? Gauge. If you are using nominal bolt of diameter D, if you are using 12 mm dia bolt, if you want to connect the two plates, see this is one plate and another one, if you want to connect the plate, diameter of the bolt is 12 mm. How much you will provide the hole? See, the hole should be in plate and you will fix the bolt here. If you are applying 12 mm dia bolt, what will be your hole diameter? It should be higher or lesser? Higher than 12 mm or lesser than 12 mm? Higher than 12 mm, yes or no? Then only the bolt will go inside. So you will be having 1 mm of the diameter. So this is as per the guideline. If you are using 12 mm dia bolt, your hole should be 13 mm, and if you are using 18 mm, it should be 20. Above 24, if you are using 24 mm dia bolt, your hole should be at least 27. So this is the guideline. Okay. Next, for minimum edge distance, what do you mean by edge is the portion between the extreme point and the nearest bolt. This is the extreme edge. From this edge to the nearest bolt is known as edge distance. So what is the maximum edge distance for 12 mm bolt? They have given it as 22, and the generalized formula is 1.7 times the diameter of the hole. So 12 into 1.7 is how much? See, here the guideline is given as 22, right? 14 into 1.7 is how much? 14, yes, 14 into 1.7 will be, so it should be greater than that. For a rough edge, so you will be getting this diameter, and for a, if the edge is not rough, it is planned edge, then you can take 1.5 times the diameter as the generalized formula. So the conditions are given in the code book. Maximum edge distance is 12 TE. What do you mean by this? Is epsilon, where epsilon is 250 divided by Fy. What is Fy? Yes, yield strength of steel. Y is yield, F is stress, yield stress of steel. If you root that, you will be getting epsilon. What do you mean by T? T is known as thickness of the plate. The maximum edge distance should be 12 times T epsilon, and minimum and maximum pitch distance is given in your code book. So can you find this? See, in the next page, they have given all the things. I have given in a tabular column. See, this is in a tabular column form. They have given in a descriptive form. You can find all the components in the second page. What is the page number? 73 and 7.